Well, we have a couple of interesting abstract shots coming up. Not exactly sure what to do with this one. It is fascinating as an abstract, and what it appears to be, it took me a while to see it, to be honest with you, is a hand with a candlestick and the flame blowing in that way. So, what could we do to accentuate that? If this were a vertical, it's moving in the opposite direction of the movement. The flame itself would indicate like a little jet engine that we should be looking this way, or that's the rear of the movement. So I'm not sure exactly. I'm going to play just a little bit, see if we can make some slight improvement. How much of this hand do we need? Well, we need some, so you can see what it is. Like I say, on the other hand, I didn't realize what it was when I first looked at it. And it really didn't matter. It's just a fascinating bit of abstract movement. Maybe? I'm not sure. Our real problem here is that it is so abstracted that it's difficult to tell what the shot is really about. Even if we rotate it back to a normal vertical, it's still not exactly sure what we're doing here. So I think what you need to do, I like the concept, the slow shutter speed is really cool in this concept, but figure out what is it you want it to say. Is it just a technical exercise? Well, in that case, this is a really good job of it. But if it's to make a photo that is something that people will look at and ponder and wonder what to do, then we need to give them a little more detail. Perhaps if the shot had come down here and we saw a little more on this end, it would be better. I don't know. But I think it's got a lot of potential, and I'd recommend trying to do it again. Here we have another one. This is less abstracted, but the composition itself is almost an abstract. We've got the water ripples and the reflection of the light overhead creating this really interesting pattern here. We've got the drop coming in. We've got a couple of drops that have been caught all over the place. Again, we just have a problem of what is this picture all about? So let's bring it into Photoshop. Well, maybe if this is where our action really is, it's the water droplets coming in to this really fascinating abstract tone, then we don't need all of this out here. We don't need all of this because it doesn't, except in color, there is a relationship with the color, but that's about it. And we don't need all of this out of focus stuff down here on the bottom. Maybe we could tell that same story without all of the extraneous stuff that was there. For me, I think this is so cool. I would like to adjust the angle to where I can see that really clearly. And what I'd be into, I think, let's see if this will work. Is even something more like this, where now I've really got these abstract colors. The background is irrelevant, but I've got enough of a change in it to break it up a little. It's not just this black limbo background. And for me, I think this tells my abstract water droplet story a little better. What else we got? Well, this is an interesting freeze. I'm assuming it stopped the movement, but the reason I'm phrasing it that way is it would be possible for him to just hold the deck like this with the cards folded. There's no inherent sense of movement in what's happening. It's cool that it's against this reflective surface, but that reflective surface isn't telling us anything. The story is here. Remember what I said, that sometimes you'll find really interesting stuff in a shot that you keep because that's interesting, but it detracts from what the shot's really all about. What it's really all about is in here. There's where our photograph is, right in this area. Now, if we were seeing just a little bit of blur in there, this would work, I think, a bit better than it is now. But it's still an interesting shot. Interesting concept. And here, we have what appears to be a very excited little piggy running across the yard. Great timing. Your shutter speed is nearly perfect to get the streak for the little critter running through there. But again, we've just got so much of this. The color loses him in there. If that's the idea, saying that when he runs fast, he's hard to see, you can't even see him in here, then fine, you got that. But I still wouldn't put him dead in the center because that's going to stop that motion. So what I would do is crop out extraneous things and put him more in a position perhaps like that, to where now we've still got a lot of the background. We can still see he almost blends into it, but there's no doubt what the subject of the shot is. I might come in just a little bit tighter to get rid of that log. I'm going to put him right at that intersection. I still want to give him at least this third area to run in. I'm going to leave the photographer's angle here. We could straighten this up, but in this case, I think the angle is working pretty well. The only thing I want to do is bring this little piggy out a touch. So I'm going to make this a screen layer. Layer mask. And in this case, I want a black brush because I'm going to paint in some of that dark area back in. I want a big, soft brush with more than 13%. Let's see what happens if I double that effect. Okay, now I'm going to take that and I'm going to bring the background down a little bit. This time we'll go to the multiply layer. Let's bring that back to something reasonable. We'll do a layer mask. I'm going to set the brush down to about 30%, somewhere in there. Now I've got that little critter being clearly the main part of this shot. No doubt what this shot's all about now. We have one more shot. Here we have the pitcher on his mound. It's a good timing thing. You don't normally realize that when the pitcher throws, we tend to think of the ball as going straight out from him, but it really comes in an arc. This ball is high at this point. It'll settle back in as it gets closer to the batter. At least we hope that it'll settle back in. In any case, the movement, the shot is in here. This is where your shot is, the pitcher and the ball. We all know that the pitcher's mound is round, so we don't need to see all of that. We generally know what that looks like. What we've got is this interesting thing of him kicking up the dirt as he's stepping forward, his arm and the hand in the very slightest blur, the ball caught in that. Here's where our action is. So, again, we need to move in on the real action. Now that ball is critically important. We cannot lose that it's far more important than the spraying dirt is. So now our picture is clear. This is what we're after. This kind of movement, this result of the movement, all of this is very cool and captures that action. And it just takes a little bit of cropping in order to pull it out. What you need to do when you're starting to look at these shots, when you're starting to make them, is ask yourself whether it's for a shot for me, whether it's for a technique or of some kind, or it's just for the fun of it. Ask yourself, where is the shot in my shot? And concentrate on that.